Hello everybody, and welcome to another puzzle challenge video with ChessUniversity.com. This is Ryan Murphy, and as usual I'm going to start by presenting the solution to yesterday's puzzle, and then move on to our fresh puzzle for today, which will still be in the beginner category since it's still the first half of the week, so we're looking at a difficulty of something for players under 1,000 roughly. But let's quickly recap yesterday's puzzle. This was the final position we were looking at. It's the end of the game. And it's a checkmate in 1, so if you solved it, congratulations. It's a very common form of Morphy's mate, which is when the bishop and the rook coordinate like this to give checkmate, but there's the additional, I guess, added element that the bishop on g3 is taking away the c7 square, which is what makes it checkmate. So after rook takes knight, there is nowhere to go. All the squares around the king have been taken. And that's, in fact, how the game ended, so white did win that game. Okay, so that was yesterday's puzzle, which was a beginner level puzzle, and then also today, this will be the last of the beginner level puzzles for the week. And it's not quite this position actually, it should be this position. And we'll build back up to this as we usually do. I'll walk through the opening and show how the position developed to this point. But here it's white to play and win. It's again a very short tactic, but the best move is clearly better than anything else in the position. So there's really only one thing accepted here. And as always, the description will host the link. So if you look down in the YouTube description, I will post the link for the official page where you can write a comment. And if you comment the solution to this puzzle, you can get credit on your ChessUniversity.com account, which you can then use for future purchases or lessons on the website. So check that out if it's interesting to you. Otherwise, let's just jump into the game. This was played on chess.com on live chess in a rapid game between an 1100 and a 1200. And the game began d4, e6, bishop f4, setting up for a London system, most likely d6, slightly less common than playing d5. d5 grabs more of the center and is just all around a better move. If black was intending to play some sort of setup where they go like this, play like in a King's Indian kind of style, or an Old Indian kind of style, then they should have started with d6 and not played e6. Because at least with d6 on the first move, black retains the option of developing this bishop, whereas with e6, the bishop is of course blocked. So you lose some flexibility playing that way. Okay, so anyway, that's what black did. e3 by white, trying to develop the light squared bishop soon. c6 doesn't make much sense at all. It's just a very typical type of opening mistake where black has made 3 moves with pawns, not all of them really maximally controlling the center, and black has no piece development. So black's not really following the opening principles very well. And of course, after c6, the knight's going to have a hard time coming to c6. And if black was going to try to play a move like d5, they could have, of course, done so earlier. So there's really no added... The only benefit that's derived from playing c6 would be to have the queen with access to the queen side like this, but it's definitely not worth the loss of time in terms of development of the minor pieces. So, not a recommended opening strategy on display from the black side. White's doing a good job, though, taking the center. Knight to f6, knight to f3. Black finally developing some pieces. Bishop to e7. Bishop to d3. Castles. Castles. And c5. Black fights for the center. This is probably something they should have tried to do earlier, because now you notice that they've played the move c6 and then c5, so they spent 2 moves on this pawn move that could have been played in 1 move. So they probably could have castled, waited, and then played c5 in one go. But here knight c3 is played, cd, ed, knight to c6, queen to e2. And now a pretty big blunder from black, just a miscounting problem. They played the move pawn to e5. And the square is just not sufficiently supported by the black pieces. It's under attack by 1, 2, 3, 4 of the white pieces and only 2 defenders from black. So yeah, that's not going to get it done. So takes, takes, takes. And now black realizes that they miscounted and they play knight d4 attacking the queen. Queen goes to d2 to get out of the way. And now bishop e6 completing development of the minor pieces for black. White plays bishop to g5, putting some pressure against this knight. And then queen to d6. Now rook to f to e1 was played. Very nice move, just developing the rook, supporting the knight which was under attack. Knight c6 back. It doesn't make a lot of sense actually, because In this position, black is down a pawn. They're supposed to try to remain active. There's no reason to retreat and offer an exchange of knights. I know this knight on e5 is strong, but if you're playing down material and you're trading off your most active pieces, that's not going to allow you to get counterplay. That's not the recommended approach. You should try to keep your active pieces alive and play in a style that like attacks stuff from your opponent's side, gives them tricks that they can fall into. You're not supposed to simplify and make life easier when you're down material. So just a general note. But anyway, yeah, knight c6 was played, and then in the game, white chose the move knight to b5, chasing the queen, which is a very tempting move. But in analysis of this game, I asked a very simple question: what happens if white simply takes bishop takes f6? And the puzzle for today comes to us if black plays sort of what I think is a very natural move for beginner level players to play, is just to recapture with the bishop, because well, most players when they're getting into the game are told to try to avoid doubled pawns almost at all costs. And I will point out that taking with the g pawn also gives black a pretty tough time. If you want, you can actually pause here and see what you would do. There's plenty of good ideas here for white. White's completely winning, not through tactics, just by kind of brute force attacking. So yeah, pause the video if you're interested in trying to figure out a good way to continue here, and I'll resume the analysis shortly. Okay, so yeah, my intention when I was looking at this in analysis without a computer was just to play queen h6, threatening checkmate. The only reasonable way I can see of defending that checkmate is to play f5, blocking the bishop. For those of you who aren't sure what I'm talking about, there is a threat of queen takes this pawn because the bishop would be protecting it. And you might ask, why can't the bishop be taken? Well, it's because the knight is protecting it. So the only way to actually obstruct this in a good way is to play f5. So, and now there's plenty of ways white could continue here. I personally like rook a d1, bringing in the last piece, threatening a discovered attack on the queen. And in addition to this idea, which is just like a one-move cheapo, there is also the idea of the rook lift to attack the king on the g-file. So this looks pretty good for white. Anyway, back to the major question. What happens if bishop takes f6? Because I said earlier that's sort of what most people who are newer to chess would look at first, and this is our key position. So now it's white to play and win. It's a one-move tactic. And if you spot it, once again, and you want to get credit on the website, check out the link in the description. I will see everyone tomorrow. Thank you for watching.